Viking Superpowers, Way of Asgard. Paul Wallis, author of the Eden series. Even on a first encounter, Norse lore holds such weight and resonance that the most casual observer senses immediately that there is something important here. The Aesir are iconic, and their mythos is powerful and cinematic. But what is the nature of it? Have we read it right? The action of the Norse stories takes us well beyond the realm of fable and moral tale. Neither are they hortatory texts impelling the reader to do or believe certain things. What then is their purpose? These questions interest me as a hermeneutics guy. For 33 years I served as a priest and pastor in a wide range of churches, as a church doctor and a trainer of pastors in the fields of hermeneutics and the history of religious thought. Hermeneutics is the discipline of interpretation. It is a discipline which asks, what kind of text is this and how do we know? What did the writer believe and what did they want us to know? Are we reading the original version of this narrative, or is there an earlier, more primitive version representing forgotten layers of context and meaning? And most fundamentally, what do the words themselves actually mean? When it comes to understanding the Aesir of the Norse people, the hermeneutics of Snorri Sturluson stand front and centre. How did this 13th century Norse leader interpret the traditional narratives of the Aesir? Moreover, how have scholars interpreted the writings of Sturluson in the centuries since? Sturluson regarded the legends of the Viking gods as a fusion of metaphor, myth, and a deep cultural memory of real events in history. Was he right? More contemporary commentators have often glossed over the subtle layers of Sturluson's own hermeneutics, framing all Norse lore as a canon of allegory and fiction, superseded through the irresistible expansion of medieval Christianity. Are they right? Who has the framing right and how can we know? Of course, the moment we tell the story of another culture's mythology, we cannot help but distort it. The nuances of our own word stock whitewash over the vivid colours of the original language. Our own vocabulary becomes a familiar veneer, obscuring the textures and detail of the original meanings. In this way, reports which once were concrete and earthy become something religious and ethereal. Ideas which once were material and technical become something magical and mystical, until finally the imaginary world we have constructed with this accretion of whitewash and veneers becomes the very lens through which we interpret the whole legacy of narratives and art left to us by the culture we have purported to understand. In this way, the academic mainstream has often interpreted Snorri Sturluson's writing as euhemeristic, suggesting that he is mistakenly deifying historic figures from the past. At other times, he is accused of the very opposite mistake, interpreting fictional and metaphoric figures as historic. These are not the only contradictions to be found in academic discussions of Snorri Sturluson. Now, refreshingly and in complete contrast, David Lovegrove presents a case for reading Sturluson's work, in particular his Prose Edda and Heimskringla, with a deeper respect, and on the basis of translations more thoroughly grounded in the root meanings of his vocabulary. I applaud this approach as a way of clearing the fog of centuries of religious belief, assumptions and prejudice, a fog which has clouded our understanding of many ancient narrative traditions. To peel back centuries of distortions in this way takes a scholar who is deeply versed in the symbology and original language of the ancestors. It takes an eye as keen as that of a warrior like Gunnar, and an artist's heart to resonate with a storyteller like Snorri Sturluson. David Lovegrove is that scholar. David is a friend of mine. A gentleman and a scholar, he is a former police officer, a martial arts master, a highly skilled ambidextrous painter, and a fellow Aussie to boot. A Viking by ancestry and a descendant of the great Snorri Sturluson. David is an erudite scholar of ancient Norse language, symbology and mythology. What he writes about in this book is in his blood, and I am delighted to see my friend receiving widening recognition as a fresh and authoritative voice in this fascinating field. His work is undeniably at the leading edge of inquiry into the world of the Aesir and the sagas of Asgard. Let me encourage you to enter the world of the Aesir and to let David show you what happens when we reacquaint ourselves with the ancestral mythos of Asgard, informed by the ancient texts themselves and the light of root meanings. But I must warn you, be ready, because you are likely to find many of your beliefs and assumptions surrounding the story of humanity challenged and changed along the way. David's writing style is warm and easy, bringing us close as he shares his data, walks us through his logic, and leads us to his conclusions, which are profound and far-reaching. What David finds in the treasure store of the Norse narratives echoes in ancestral story all around the world. Curious correlations in traditions as diverse as Nigerian, Filipino, Greek, Hebrew, Babylonian, ancient Armenian, South American, Mesoamerican, and Native American draw my attention to what appears to be widespread and diverse curations of very similar visual memories. And these correlations are not just in the form of overlapping stories. They can be found in petroglyphs, carvings, and art, bequeathed to us by those who have gone before. So when, in the pages that follow, David shows us correlations, both in the ancestral stories of the North and in the physical artefacts left behind by our northern ancestors, I have to sit up and take notice, and I think you will do the same. My advice is to buckle up and prepare yourself for the pages ahead. They will stretch you and inform you. Set out on this epic journey in the company of David Lovegrove, and I can guarantee that you will return home awed, enriched and inspired. Paul Wallis, Queensland, April 2025.